You're listening to Hockey Talk on the Rock
All right, stop.
with Laura and Keith.
It's interesting.
So let's back up a second.
He played absolutely out of his mind.
It made no sense to me.
And now, here are your hosts.
So hey everyone, welcome back to Hockey Talk on the Rock. This is our virtual setting as now the new COVID restrictions have been put in place. So going through Zoom.
Everybody, episode 11. Couple things to talk about.
Yeah, so there's been a little bit of news in the NHL, some good, some I guess not good, but depends on the situation. We can start off, the Islanders were dealt a bit of I want to say a gift with their salary cap situation as Johnny Boychuk has retired due to an eye injury. And I know you talked about it before, how they were in a lot of cap trouble, and this has basically relieved that. So
Yeah, it relieves 100% of his $6 million cap hit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It almost seems like it seems similar to the Manny Malhotra Vancouver situation.
Yeah.
Where I'm sure it took quite a bit of convincing to get him to agree to it, kind of thing, but
Yeah, I mean, like, he is a good player, so it does suck for their back end, but they have lots of players there that will be able to fill that role.
And like what you said, I covered a little bit of the Islanders situation before, and he's older, he's 36, and he's been declining the last few years. So, like you said, it sucks for them. He's probably a pretty good character guy, but $6 million, and
Yeah, and I'm sure they could probably find a way to keep him around if they wanted to, right?
yeah, and player development or ambassador or some form of something.
Yeah.
Gives them almost $10 million worth of cap space now.
Yeah, so they basically can re-sign Barzal now, which is the gift.
Yeah, exactly. Like we talked about before, when we were talking about their cap situation, it was like, I read a little bit about how they were trying to bridge him at a lower number. Now it seems like they have money and that makes sense because he's awesome. And it sounds like they're still far apart where they're offering around 7.5, 8 per year for a long-term deal. And I read he's asking more in the 9.5, 10. So
Yeah.
That's where it goes. It doesn't sound like anybody's in a big hurry, especially with no formal announcement at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I imagine probably the remaining RFAs here are going to wait until that is announced and then stuff will start happening.
I agree. But we'll get into the other re-signings because I was surprised a couple pins did drop in that sense.
Yeah, for sure. So you want to start with Sergachev?
Sure. Yeah. He was the more recent of the two, signing back in Tampa for 3 years at $4.8 million, which is, I think it's a great deal for Tampa Bay. He's a solid young defense. They're still in big cap trouble, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. But I kind of dived into his stats a little bit. And, he's had steady stats every year since he's been playing in Tampa Bay. Career high in goals last year with 10. With his lowest regular season games played at 70. But when looking into his stats last year, he also did have a career high in penalty minutes at 58, where he had 28 the year prior. And then looking at his playoffs, he had 26 playoff penalty minutes.
Okay.
Which is, other than the penalty minute thing, that's ultimately the only thing I could really find that would have gotten Tampa to get that number down to what they did. And 3 years, and he'll improve, I'm sure, over that time.
And the only thing that I would say about that deal, because it looks really good, but that last year his salary is actually 7.2, and so he'll have to be qualified at least 7.2 on his next deal. And I think that's probably why they settled on 4.8, like average cap hit, right?
Right, because he'll have arbitration rates at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like kicking their can down the road a bit. Like, they're still in cap trouble now, but they have one of their big pieces signed up for 3 more years, and then in 3 years they'll figure something out again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good value for right now, for sure.
Oh yeah, especially the situation they're in. Do you want to move on to the other re-signing, or do you want to stay on Tampa?
Maybe let's just stay on Tampa if it flows.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so that was one of their three big RFAs they had to resign. They've still got Sorelli to resign, and your kind of defense crush you got going on
Yeah.
Cernak there. Um, and like kind of like what I did with the Islanders, I kind of looked at their cap space and everything, and right now they're already 1.5 or 1.9 over with those two guys to get re-signed, and they have extra forwards, and it's no secret they want to move them. They tried Tyler Johnson on straight waivers, and nobody took him. There's rumors if they do it again, when there's more certainty about the money and the games played and stuff like that, that Nashville might take Johnson next time around.
Okay.
It says he's mainly a centerman, but he can play the wings as well. And Nashville's obviously looking to kickstart their offense. They've been doing a lot of tweaking this year after having kind of a dud year last year.
For sure.
And then they got Killorn, which I don't know if he's as movable because he's only a left winger and he's a bit older. And then Yanni Gourde might be the most tradable if there is a tradable one.
Yep.
Johnson, he can play the wings, he can play center. He's the younger of the three at 28, but he signed for 5 years, 5.166. So if Tyler Johnson isn't going to get picked up on waivers, I can see there's two teams I looked at that might be able to even just lowball Tampa Bay in a sense, offer him a 4th, 5th, 6th rounder for a Yanni Gourde just to save him that money. And it would be New Jersey, mainly because they have 17 mil in cap space.
For sure.
And, all three of those guys are cup winners now and experienced, and they would be good for their young core group of talented forwards they got coming up. I kind of thought LA might be interested as well, just because they have over 13.5 mil in cap space, and they're in the West. So I mean, they'll help Tampa, but they're not helping them as much because they're not a conference rival or whatever.
For sure.
You have any thoughts on where they might take this?
Do you think Columbus would try and get anyone from Tampa? Just because of their cap situation?
Yeah, I can see that. I can, because they moved so much money out this year, and it seemed like they really wanted to do something and add some, big names or experienced players or whatever, and they kind of struck out.
Yep.
Again, though, they're helping somebody that's in their conference, and with the supposed division realignment, could even be a division rival.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
you never know.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm sure that Tampa will figure it out, right? Like, it seems they always do, but it might be one of those cases where they do have to get rid of someone that they don't want to, like a Yanni Gourde, and just kind of keep going. They obviously have a good team, right? So I don't think it's going to hurt them too much, but I think they'll get it done in one way or another. And yeah, we'll see what happens there.
For sure.
We'll see what happens there. And then, the other RFA re-signing with Jake DeBrusk, 3.65 mil for 2 years in Boston. And again, I looked at his second year salary and it's 4.85. So that's what he would be qualified at. I don't think it's a bad deal. He's scored about 40 points each year he's been in the league. He had one 27-goal season. But he seems to be somewhere in that, 20 to 30 goal range, around 40, maybe 50 points tops. But yeah, I think it's a decent signing for Boston.
Yeah, I think it's a good bet. I'm thinking we're going to see more bridge deals with the RFAs this year and probably even next year, just based on the flat cap and the COVID and everything going on. Just makes sense that the teams are going to be explaining, we're going to give you a short deal, prove it deals, kick the can down the road and deal with our problems later once we know
what's going on.
Yeah,
for sure. And that's kind of, I don't know, a good segue, unless you have more on DeBrusk, into what's going on with the start date of the NHL. And it's not great news at the moment. Well, it's just there isn't much news, and it seems like probably because the NHL didn't expect they'd be in this position. They probably thought maybe they could have fans or something at the beginning of the season in 2021 or limited seating. They're now asking the players to defer more money from their contracts. So in the CBA that they signed in the summer, it was 10% that they were going to defer I think, for 2 years. So they will get the money. It's just not right away, right?
Yeah.
Now they're asking for an additional 13% to be deferred, which would be like, 20 is something between 20 and 26% of their contract. And the players aren't impressed. They say they've already given up enough, and they're giving up escrow money too. And evidently the news at the beginning of this week was that Donald Fur and Gary Bettman hadn't even talked since last week, which isn't great. And it kind of gives me PTSD with the NHL, just because they never seem to want to get anything done until like the last possible second. And it was really great in the summer that they did come together so quickly, but it seems like there's a few hiccups here. I think they're going to get it done. And it's probably just something about working out that percentage, because like they're going to have to give both sides a bit to get anything done, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, like you say, they haven't talked in over a week or whatever, and that might not seem like much, like, oh, it's only a week or whatever, but in perspective, Donald Fair and Bettman were talking, from what I read, every day throughout, establishing the playoff bubble and getting through the free agency and into the draft and all that stuff. So when they're talking every single day and then all of a sudden everything breaks off, it seems like they're headed for that type of standstill where nobody wants to budge. But the players are sacrificing not only, the 10%, like you said, from their summer negotiation to extend the CBA, but they're sacrificing more than the owners, in the sense that if they go to bubbles, they're sacrificing their personal lives a lot more, because they're going to be away from their families and isolated again. And one thing I was wondering, and I didn't look too far into because I hoped you would just know the answers for me. But like in the lockout shortened seasons, were those seasons prorated?
I don't think they were, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't think they were either. So why in a lockout season would they have a full contract, and then this year, when something's so out of their control, a non-labor dispute because it's a pandemic, would they try to prorate things in this situation? I mean, I guess in a lockout shortened season they have butts in the seats every game or whatever, but
yeah, and probably just the owners are making money from their other businesses, right? Whereas now, yeah. So I don't know. I understand why the players are mad. I get it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, there needs to be a season this year, and I think everyone knows that. So I think it's gonna work out. It's probably not gonna be January 1. We're probably gonna have to wait a few weeks.
Yeah, and hey, you have a hot take that we have clipped somewhere about how it's gonna get kicked down to February 1st. So
yeah, we'll see.
We will see, but I definitely. How can you not side with the players a little bit more on this one? I think personally, it would be more up to the owners to just get more creative. Maybe they can do 50-50 draws more often with their team logo on it, and not during game nights, just to drum up some money, or auction off Zoom interactions with GMs or coaches, or I'm sure they could find ways to make money in this time.
Yeah.
So.
I know, and I mean, they are billionaires to begin with too, so it's kind of hard to feel sorry for the owners in that sense, right? It's like, okay, you're not making as much money as you did, but let's go, come on.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I'm betting that there is going to be a season. I just signed a 1-year subscription with Sportsnet for streaming because they had a Black Friday deal, and I was like, okay. We gotta have a season now, right? Anyways, the other kind of, I guess, news around hockey right now is around the World Juniors, which is meant to take place over Christmas time, but there's been a couple hiccups now with Team Canada specifically. They've had a couple players test positive for COVID, and now they've had to postpone all their practices and scrimmages for 2 weeks, which is obviously a big deal because, the other teams are going to be practicing and playing and getting ready to go. And I mean, Alberta's COVID numbers are very high right now, which kind of, I guess, plays into the question of if this tournament is going to be able to be played, only because in the summer was when all the COVID numbers were pretty low. The bubble was very secure. They did an excellent job not having any positive tests in that time period. But now I don't know what the likelihood is that they're going to get through that 2-week tournament without someone on some team testing positive.
Well, yeah, especially like, teams have to get together in their own countries, and they got to make it over to Edmonton.
Yeah.
It, it's I really hope it happens. I love the World Junior Tournament, and I'm sure they'll find a way, just like the NHL is going to find a way. But it certainly seems a bit dicey right now.
It does. And yeah, I mean, this has the potential to be one of the best tournaments ever just because of who's going to be available for all the teams. So it would be really nice, and it'll be the only hockey on at that time. So it'll be really fun to watch. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I really hope we don't have to answer the question of what happens if there's an outbreak with one of the teams during the tournament. But,
Yeah. Sidebar: is it Sportsnet that does the World Juniors this year, or is it TSN?
I think it's TSN.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on, I know you wanted to talk about the Canucks and their opening of an assistant captain on their team.
Yes.
Because, as we all know, fan favorite, one of your fan favorites, Chris Tanev, moved across the Rocky Mountains to Calgary.
Yeah.
And he was wearing one of the assistant captains for Vancouver. So do you want to start off with just a little bit of, off the top of your head, who you think would step in and fill that leadership role?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 3 players that I could see. The first being kind of the sexy take, I guess, which would be Elias Pettersson, moving him up into more of a leadership role on the team formally. I think it's probably more likely that it goes to JT Miller. That would be my pick. And then the other player that I wonder about would be Nate Schmidt just coming over, but I feel like his presence in the locker room is going to be kind of replacing that of Tanev in a way, but he's obviously a very different character. But he's a big personality in the locker room, right? So I could kind of see that as well. But if I had to bet, I would say it's going to go to Miller.
Yeah, I'm more or less on the exact same page as you. I had my 2 top candidates as Petey and Miller. Same reason, figured Miller just because he's a bit older, a bit more experienced. And then I did have Schmidt, but I also had Tyler Myers, only because he's local and he's kind of been filling that mentorship role for Virtanen in the offseason as it is already. So maybe he seems more of a quiet character, but maybe behind closed doors he's more of a leader than we realize. So I kind of threw him in as a wild card. But other than that, I'm with you. I think Miller is going to get the A next year.
Yep, I agree. 100%. Alrighty. Do you want to move into reverse retros?
Yeah, that's all I've got left. And I mean, I see you've got kind of an older school Canucks jersey on with the Linden.
Yeah.
One of my favorites in the retro reverse, but not the retro reverse, a Hartford jersey on. And I did use your tiered thing.
Yeah.
We talked about, but I just basically used that as a tool to kind of break it down to different subcategories for myself. So, yeah, do you want to start off with your top or your A plus or whatever, however you rank them, or?
Okay, sounds good. So I've got a top 3. I do have some honorable mentions, but I feel like I'll say them after I say the top 3, if that makes sense.
That's good. I've got a top 3. A top 3 I would add to my collection because I don't have those ones yet, and then I have honorable mentions. So
okay, sounds good. Alrighty, so when I was thinking about this, because it took me a long time, like I honestly moved people or jerseys around a whole bunch because I couldn't decide. But I kind of went off the idea of if I was gonna buy this jersey, which ones would I want to buy? So at number 3, I have Carolina. I think the gray Whalers jersey is really nice. There is a part of me that thinks they've kind of overdone the Whalers thing, but I also think that it's like I don't really like Carolina's jersey now.
no,
So the Whalers jersey is such an improvement on it.
yeah,
And then I love that they have the whales on the shoulders again.
yeah,
And I just really like it in gray. So it was one of those ones that I moved around, but I think it is number 3.
okay.
Number 2, which I feel like this one is not on many people's top 3, I have Tampa Bay. I really, really, really like that logo.
Okay.
I love the color blue that they have in the background. And again, when Tampa changed their jerseys to what they have now, I was so disappointed because I thought they were so boring. And to me, that jersey is just beautiful. Like, I love it. love the reverse retro, and I think they should play with that all the time.
Mhm.
And number one, drum roll, I have the Arizona Coyotes.
Oh,
I
wow.
just absolutely love it.
That's got to be the most divisive one out there, I'd say.
I would say, well, there's a couple, like there's a few I would say, but I just love the purple, and I love just
The landscape on the bottom and everything like that, eh?
I hated it in green, but when they put it in purple, I was like, that is beautiful. But yeah.
Okay. You want to throw your honorable mentions in, or
Yeah, so my honorable mentions, I have two really high up ones. The first one is Colorado. I had them at 4. I really like the Nordiques and the Avs colors. I'm just not a big fan of white jerseys in general, so I didn't have it in my top 3, but I think the Avs color looks really good with the Nordiques.
Yeah.
No problems there. And then at number 5, I have LA. I really like their purple.
Purple with the Gretzky era.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. I'm not crazy about the Gretzky era logo, and that's the reason why I dropped down a bit. But I never thought they should have ever gotten rid of purple off their jerseys. Like when it was black with purple, I liked their jerseys. When it was purple, I liked their jerseys. But when they just went straight black and white or black and gray or whatever, I thought it was boring and ugly. Yeah. Anyway,
There's a bit of a theme with the purple jerseys
I
here.
do. But yeah, my other kind of, I guess, honorable mentions, I have a couple more. I'm sorry. Again, it was just too many good jerseys.
Those are like, I get it.
So the next one I have is Washington's. I really like them in the blue and the red, as opposed to the Screaming Eagle in the color that they had it before, the kind of eggplant, I guess.
Right.
I think that's a really sharp looking jersey, and I wasn't sold on it, but then I saw like a fan art of or whatever of TJ Oshie going on the ice with it, and I was like, holy crap, that looks sick. And then I just thought about it on the ice, and yeah, I really like it. And then I just have to say one thing about Vancouver's, because I actually like Vancouver's, and I feel like a lot of people hate them. I don't think it's one of the best jerseys in this group, but I do like it. And I know everyone gets really upset about the Orca, but the reason why I'm actually wearing this jersey right now is kind of prove a point. Whereas we've had, like, with the Canucks, every time there's any sort of vintage or retro jersey, it's usually always a throwback to the stick in the rink. And I love the stick in the rink. I think it's a great logo. But we've had, basically every 3 or 4 years, a new updated version of the stick in rink.
Yeah.
So it's boring. The skate we had last year, and it was perfect. I wouldn't want to see a skate in blue and green. I think that would be ugly. So the fact that it's throwing back to the 2000s, or really the West Coast Express, I really like, because to me that was the time that I was really getting into hockey. Yeah. So personally, I like that. And then, yeah, I think the Orca is fine. We haven't had a retro with the Orca. Let them have the Orca. Anyway.
No, I agree with you. I was kind of like, why didn't they do a blue and green flying V? That would have been so perfect. And then it kind of grew on me because, like you said, the West Coast Express era with that green blend into the blue, it looks really good. It looks sharp. It's not in my top 5, but I do like it. Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot to like.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say. I mean, I could keep going. I have a couple more. I'll do 2 more. Okay. 2 more honorable mentions, and then I'll stop. So I like Montreal in blue. I think it looks really sharp. Again, it's just not one of my favorites, but I like it. And then Minnesota with the North Star colors, I also really like. Not a big fan of white jerseys, already said that. And then someone showed me the meme of it being a Subway sign instead of the Minnesota logo. And once I saw that, then I just couldn't like it anymore. Because I guess it's like the Subway.
Right.
Anyway, but I did like it initially. I really liked the logo in the green and yellow. So
okay. I'll quickly backtrack because I'm not going to talk about the Capitals in mine, but growing up, I really was a fan, not of the colors per se, but of that logo.
Yeah.
And I kind of had a fanboy thing going on for a couple of Capitals like Peter Bondra and Olaf Kolzig. So I liked it back in the day, and when I saw they went with that in the reverse retro with the red or whatever, I was like, oh, you know what? That's actually pretty nice. So, I agree with you on that one. It's cool. My top 3 overall were number 3, I had Minnesota.
Yeah.
I've never liked their jersey or their logo, but when they spruced it up here with the old North Stars colors, I was just like, wow. And it made me start to wonder why there isn't a green yellow
Yeah,
thing on in the league at all right now.
totally agree.
So yeah, if honestly, if I had to bet if any one of these retro reverse like maybe stuck as a permanent, I would say the Minnesota one might stick around. Number two, Hartford, Carolina. I've always really liked the Hartford jersey. It's just so smart. The H in the middle with the whale tail and the W. I thought it was always so nice. And throwing in, like you said, the Carolina steel gray looks just awesome. The whale on the shoulder patches, everything. It was good. Number one for me, and I mean, I feel like number 1 and 2 kind of cheated because they went to their expansion pass. It was Colorado, Quebec.
Yeah.
The Nordiques jersey in the Colorado colors just looks fantastic. And if I didn't already have a Nordiques jersey on the wall, I would totally get that jersey.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful.
It's sharp. So then I went to, okay, top 3 that I would add to my collection, because as you know, I've got a lot and I probably still need probably half the leagues to complete a full league worth. But top 3 that I would add to my collection, Minnesota was number 1. I've already, I think it's awesome. Number 2, probably surprising, but going with the reverse on St. Louis's 90 jerseys with the red on the top.
Oh, yeah, you like it.
I really do. I don't know.
I think that one's pretty divisive too.
I think so too. There's a lot of people that hate it, but I was also a big fan of, Al McInnes and Keith Tkachuk and Cujo back in the day. I watched a lot of Blues hockey, and I was flipping that around, but it looked really nice. And it segues into my third choice for what I would add to my collection. Pretty much the same exact reasoning as the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
With the dark blue in the background, it surprised me how nice it looked. I think it's awesome. I was on the internet today and I almost bought one of all 3 of those jerseys. I didn't, but I definitely considered it. So I thought those 3 were great. I had the overlap there with the top 3 overall and ones I would buy with Minnesota. It definitely stood out to me. Honorable mentions, I had 3. LA, like you talked about, the purple with the Gretzky logo looks really awesome. I thought Winnipeg's looks pretty good with the gray. I think that's a divisive one as well.
Yeah, I don't like that one at all.
No, I like Winnipeg, and I like everything about their old jerseys too, so I'm kind of a sucker for that stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I really like their old, like, their Heritage Classic jersey is probably, like, my favorite jersey in the NHL right now. Really like it with the red tones, but I just don't understand why they went all gray. To me, it's, like, the most boring thing. Like, there's no pop. But they could have done so much more, I guess. Because I think that Winnipeg in general, their jerseys are one of the best in the league. That would be my opinion.
I agree. And then my third honorable mention, final one, I thought New Jersey going with the green looked really sharp. And I was surprised because I didn't know what they were going to do, but it looks really good with the green background, the Garden State, and the whole, within the garden and blah, blah, blah. I thought it looked cool.
Yeah, I liked the green, and it was bold too. Like, I like the teams that made the bold decisions. Yeah, I just think.
And like you said, I can go on and on. There was a lot to like. There was way less ones I disliked, probably like 7 or 8 that I was, didn't do anything for me / hated anywhere there versus the other, 22, 23 that were like anywhere from like, oh, that's nice to like, I would buy that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I'll segue in and I'll start off with my worst 3 favorites.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 honorable mentions for the disliking as well. But for the worst 3, I had Vegas as one because, like, why did they even bother participating? They've only been in the league for 3 years.
Yeah.
And the logo looks
crappy.
I thought it looked dumb.
Yeah.
Didn't like it. Sidebar, did you see their farm team's New Jersey, the Silver Knights or whatever?
Yeah.
It looks stupid.
I mean, I feel like all, like, the Vegas, the 3rd jersey that came out recently also is terrible. The glittery one. But I mean, it's like super Vegas, but yeah.
Don't like it. Number 2 on the worst, I thought Arizona's.
I knew you were gonna have it.
Yeah, I mean, I waffle between that one and Anaheim for my worst 3. But I don't know. The tripped out Simpsons coyote head with the landscape and the purple. I get it. I mean, it was one of the most divisive ones. I don't like it.
If I buy any jersey of this list, it's gonna be that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
like
cool.
hands down.
And I bet you will look super sharp in it. My third worst one
Yeah.
was the Islanders because it was like, did they do anything? It was kind of like, it was almost like imagining people pitching ideas to Lamoriello and him being like, I don't like it over and over. And then they just sent him one that they currently use. He's like, love it, sign off, you know?
Yeah.
It didn't look any different to me. So it was pretty unimpressive. And that's why I made my top three. For the worst honorable mentions, I had three more, like I mentioned.
Yep.
Don't like Calgary's. I never liked the Horsehead one.
They didn't do anything. It's
And how
really
they added the, kind of the V-shaped stripes on the arms and the bottom of the jersey with the Canucks colors. It just kind of bothered me. I think I sent you that picture, or maybe you sent it to me, of like someone put the Canucks logo over the Horsehead and was like, Calgary's just making their new free agents feel at home or whatever with the new colors. It seems laughable.
Yeah.
Detroit got a worst honorable mention too because it looked like they started to do a reverse retro and then they like fell asleep at the wheel and then we're like, oh shit, slap on a gray stripe here and there, we're good. And it's like boring and unimpressive.
Yeah.
Especially for an original 6 team. And then Anaheim also, because they picked their worst logo and they went with it, and like that logo never worked, and they brought it back and it still doesn't work, and I hate it. And I like all the old Anaheim jerseys, but I thought that one's dumb.
Yeah, I'll give them props for being bold because, they've done basically the Ducks stuff to death now. Like that jersey, the third jersey they had a couple years ago that was the Ducks colors with their new logo. It's like a mix of the two. I think is their perfect jersey. Like it would have been the perfect reverse retro, but it came out before. But I give them props for going with this because I don't know what else they would have done right now. And also, it's one of those jerseys that I know like jersey collectors can never find that jersey. So now it's like their chance to buy it.
Right.
I get it. I don't particularly want one, but I kind of like that they brought it back. Like I'm okay with it. I don't know. Other thing that I think is quite interesting because we have completely different bottom threes. Like not one is the same. I did have a couple that were in your honorable mentions as my worst.
Okay.
The third worst one I have is Dallas's.
Oh yeah.
Dallas, like, so it's kind of a combination of the fact that they just released their new third jersey that looks like crap. And then I was like, okay, we'll see what their reverse retro is. And I love the star. I always have loved that design.
On the bottom, you mean?
Yeah, but it was like they did the worst possible take on that jersey. It looks all washed out. It looks like nothing stands out. Like they didn't even really care and it wasn't completed. And I had a really hard time with the bottom three as well, with which one I thought was the worst. And almost talking about it now, I feel like I'm talking myself into thinking Dallas's was the worst. But I'll stick with it at 3.
Okay.
Number 2, I have Detroit. Again, what was the point, like, of even coming out? They did their centennial. Detroit.
You said sorry.
Oh yeah, no. My second one is Detroit.
Yeah,
I just don't even know what the point of them making this jersey was. They had their centennial jersey a couple seasons ago, and it had silver on the arms, and it was really nice. And then this one just looks like a botched, shittier version of that jersey. So like, So I didn't like theirs, but my least favorite jersey of the bunch, and I swear I'm not being biased here, is Toronto's.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't like it, but what did they really do?
I think that looks like a shirt you would get from Walmart. Like it looks like a Walmart designed hockey shirt. It does not look like something you'd wear on the ice. And, Toronto, like they could have done something way cooler. They could have used like their St. Pat's colors with like their current logo. They have a lot of nice logos. I really like but it's just like everything they did was horrible. The spacing in the letters is weird. The leaf itself is weird. Just don't like it. Don't like the stripes on the arms. Hate it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost like they went to, Dubas's kid or whatever and got him to write it out because there's like one lowercase letter amongst all the capitals. It really bothers me that, so.
Yeah, I don't like it. But yeah, my honorable mentions, I have Winnipeg, which I already said. I just think they could have done so much more, and it's just boring to me. Then I have the Islanders, and the reason why I don't have the Islanders in the top 3 is because I was staring at it and I didn't see the difference between that jersey and their current jersey. But then I put them side by side and I realized that this jersey is actually nicer than their current jersey. It's a darker blue, and to me it looks better. So the only reason why I don't have them as the worst is because I think they improved their jersey. And they should just use those all the time, but they should have created a better reverse retro. Anyway.
I think the Islanders should have went with the Fisherman logo with their current colors.
Yeah, easy. But evidently Lou doesn't like the Fisherman, so it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, my other 2 that I have here that I didn't like, I mean, I have a few, but Vegas, we already talked about why. And then I didn't like Columbus's, and that's one that some people really like, but yeah.
Columbus just took Washington's colors and slapped their logo on it.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the other 2 I have is Pittsburgh and Edmonton, because I just think they're both really boring. What did Edmonton really do? They changed the colors on their shoulders.
Yeah. No, Edmonton was down there for me. Pittsburgh was unimpressive. Dallas was unimpressive to me.
Yeah, but yeah, everything else I thought was okay. I mean, there's a few teams that, like, I know lots of people really like New York, what they did, like the Lady Liberty, but to me that's exactly the same jersey that they had before, and that's what I said about the Horsehead too. And the one on this one, I'll just throw it in there for talking sake. Okay, I have 2 more, and they're kind of in the middle. I would put them in the middle of my rankings, but I think Florida's jersey is really nice.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked it. And then the other one that I like that I don't think anyone else likes is actually like Nashville's.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just, again, an improvement on what they have. So those were in there. I didn't like Ottawa in red. I thought was boring.
So one that I found kind of just didn't get talked about, whether it was good or bad, are my boys the Flyers.
Yeah.
Same with you. It's just like it didn't really do much.
Again, it's in that grouping. I have them kind of with Boston. Like, it's okay, but I feel like they've already done it kind of. But with the Flyers, because they don't have a secondary logo, what do you do to change it up?
I know. They're one of the only teams in the league that have never changed their logo, so all they can do is do different patterns around it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't terrible. I mean, I thought it looked nice, but it didn't make my top 10 or anything like that.
Yeah. But yeah, if I was gonna buy any of them, I'm gonna probably try and buy Arizona. And then I do really like Tampa's. That's one I would consider buying, and then Vancouver, because
Okay, so if you got an Arizona one, who would you get put on it? A current player or
the perfect player for that jersey?
Okay.
Who?
No, because I mean, I try to think of either great players now or when I was growing up. So if I were to get in Arizona, I'd probably get like a Keith Tkachuk. But
yeah, no, I'm thinking Kessel.
Oh yeah,
the perfect player for that jersey.
I would never want a Kessel jersey, so he wasn't really on my radar.
No, I know. I wouldn't either, except for that jersey, because I just think it's the perfect combination of beautifulness and awfulness in one. But yeah, anyway, that's my rankings. It was a fun week of looking at jerseys anyway.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think with that kind of wraps up episode 11 for us.
Yeah, I think so.
Not very much hockey news, but we certainly were able to talk a lot about jerseys because we both love our jerseys, and that was fun.
Yeah, no, it was good to chat. And yeah, I was excited to hear your opinion because I feel like no one has the same exact.
No, it's very hard to find agreement on everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was good. And maybe, in one of our future episodes, we might be sitting around with one of these retro reverse jerseys on.
That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, until episode 12, thanks for listening, everybody. And
yeah,
Hockey Talk on the Rock.
Alrighty. Peace out.